Usually what happens to us, Jack, is we record a podcast and news breaks hours later or the next day, but we seem to have timed it right for once, because David Ornstein, obviously of The Athletic, put out a piece today suggesting that Liverpool are quite far along in their negotiations for Konate from Leipzig. He's got a €40 million release clause. I think he's got 1 year left on his deal at the end of this season. The one time we need, Steve, the one time him and his actual BBC journalistic contacts could come in, he's on the 19th hole. So it's just me and you, buddy, to talk through this one. But what are your initial thoughts on Konate?
Well, yeah, it's sad that we don't have Steve and his HP sources, isn't it? But you know, we have the two of us, and we spoke to him before we came on about Ornstein and a couple of things that's been said. I read the report this morning when I first woke up, a lot earlier than you, Craig.
A lot earlier. Even the term morning, mate, was enough to let people know I wasn't involved.
Yeah, and for me, mate, it's a really, really interesting deal. Ibrahima Konate is a player that I'm massively fond of. You know, I think the only worry for me is the injury history. You know, he's very young, under 21. He's in that, you know, brilliant crop of young French defenders that they have. But that injury history does loom over him. And you know, in the last few weeks and months, I've compared Konate to Joe Gomez, because I think they're similar in terms of the players, the fact that they have, you know, a history of injuries at such a young age. There was a bit of confusion about recently, because, you know, he posted on Twitter that it was nice to be back playing football after 3 months out. We know he's had an injury recently. We know he was, you know, not starting in either leg against Liverpool in that Champions League round of 16 tie. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks and months. You know, the story that David Ornstein broke suggested that he is very, very close, and Liverpool remain in contact with him. But it remains to be questioned whether he'll be coming in as, you know, an additional centre-back with KABAK joining too, whether KABAK won't sign if we sign Konate, whether, you know, we'll have Konate coming in, KABAK coming in too, but someone like Joel Matip may depart, or Nat Phillips. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the summer. But for me, delighted with the Ibrahima Konate news. You know, I think he's a really, really good talent when he's fit, and I think it'll be an excellent signing for us.
I read that exact same thread. It was from a lady on Twitter. I don't have her name to hand. I'd love to give her credit, but she delved into the injuries, and I have his list of injuries open here in front of me, which I'm sure a lot of people have been frantically searching and looking on transfer markets and stuff. And you're right, there was a period between the 1920 season from October right through the following July where he basically missed 36 games, or the guts of a year, really, but one injury that just never seemed to heal. It was a torn muscle fibre that kept him out, and this thread that we're speaking about breaks that down and explains it in more detail. And recently he'd been out with an ankle injury. So do you think it's fair, Jack, that people, and you know, I did a stream before this, and again, a lot of people are speaking about him being injury prone. Do you think it's fair to call somebody at 21 years of age injury prone, particularly when it was one major injury and then this ankle? I don't know, mate, if I'm just being optimistic here or if I'm getting those Matip, Joe Gomez vibes.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You know, I do often compare him to Gomez because of his ability at such a young age. You know, there's no doubting Konate's ability. He's outstanding. He's a really, really good young talent. But he does seem to have that injury history looming over him, and whether or not, you know, it's one long-term injury and then a couple of niggly injuries here or there. He's still so young, and he's still had, you know, a lot of time away from the pitch. But hopefully, fingers crossed, if he does come to Liverpool, he doesn't suffer with too many injuries. I'm just really interested on the timing of the news, because, you know, with KABAK in the form he's in, if this means that we won't be signing KABAK, it's bad timing, really, because the one thing I liked about the deal for KABAK was he's playing for his Liverpool future. You know, he's playing for us to sign him on a permanent basis. So if he's seen this and seen that we're not even interested in him anymore, maybe, and that, you know, we're going to go all out for Konate instead in the summer, then maybe that will, you know, mess his rhythm up a bit. But no, Craig. Nonetheless, I think I think it'll be a very, very good addition bringing Konate in. I think it'll be a good signing. And like yourself, for the past couple of weeks and months, I've had a feeling that Joel Matip may be departing in the summer, and therefore I do believe that we'll bring in Konate and KABAK.
I want to just backtrack a little bit there. I want to talk about his age and 21. It's not unusual for, especially when you've got such a big physique as he has, for your body to break down a little bit when you're becoming, you know, from a teenager right through to a man. And I'm hoping maybe these are slight like growing pains, for want of a better phrase. And we know that the Liverpool medical department will delve deep, like we've seen with Nabil Fekir and other players before in the future. So I think I've no doubts on that side. I think that he will have been looked at as a bargain. And I think, like you've touched on, I don't think it's an or KABAK or Konate. I think it's both. I think we're going to... Sam Maguire did a piece on this earlier on, and he said something along the lines of, imagine getting both of these guys for £56 million. I mean, that is one Jules Koundé. That is, you know, just over, what, 65% of a Harry Maguire. Like, this is the type of money we're talking about. This is the cleverness of Liverpool and Michael Edwards yet again.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. You know, there's been a lot about our system changing next season. Will we go to a back three? Is that why we want, you know, more centre backs in? A question that might be there. You know, a back three system, in my opinion, would certainly suit, you know, our style with our fullbacks, both Robertson and Trent. I think could play the wing back role, and it would be interesting to see if that was the case. However, like I said, you know, I feel like Konate is a young talent, a very good young talent. KABAK too, though Konate, in my opinion, is better than Ozan KABAK. And it could just be that the club will see them as two options for the long term. And, you know, like I said on several occasions, Van Dijk and Gomez are coming back from long-term injuries. We're going to really have to manage their fitness for the whole of next season, and having, you know, 4 or 5 quality centre halves going into the season, it would be massively important. And, you know, I think signing both of them for like you say, the price of just 56 million, which is the price of a lot of class centre backs in the modern day, to get 2 very, very good centre backs, very good young centre backs for that price, I think would be an outstanding deal for Liverpool. And as I said, I have no question over the ability of Konate. It's just that injury history, and if we can keep him fit, you know, for the next few seasons, he could be a real key player for us. I do think he's a very good talent.
Like always, though, it's fair for us to point out that with any other position that Liverpool are looking to address, they will always be looking at 1, 2, 3 different players. And I'm sure they could still be maybe negotiating behind the scenes for somebody like a Kalei or somebody else who we've been linked with. And the club will have, you know, they have to keep a few irons in the fire, because you see sometimes moves fall through. And I'm thinking of the time we signed Costa Simicas, where we all thought maybe Jamal Lewis was coming in from Norwich, and that deal couldn't be agreed. And sometimes these things happen. So it's interesting. It does look like David Ornstein is saying we're quite far along in this process. And again, it's easy when you know that there's a buyout clause in there as well. But what I'm wondering is, will Michael Edwards pay the buyout clause knowing that there's 1 year left on his deal, or has he got the cojones to actually try and get a deal done there for Liverpool?
Well, I have faith in him that he could do absolutely anything, Michael Edwards. You know, he's a genius. But, you know, for this deal, I think it may be that we do have to pay the 40 million, because I think there'll be other top clubs sniffing around Konate. He's a top talent, and for someone like this to be available at £40 million, I think it is still a steal. And I think that's why Liverpool are in negotiation now, because we know how good he is, we know how talented he is, and we know that there are other clubs sniffing around. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens from here. I saw an Echo video earlier saying that, you know, he's on a 5-man list of candidates. He seems to be the top priority, and that, you know, the Echo are reporting that they think we'll only bring in 1 centre-back this summer. But, you know,
it's not like them to be in any way downbeat or negative, Jack. Come on. They're always so optimistic.
Well, it's interesting because, of course, they're not going to come out and say that we're going to be looking to actively sell a player like Joel Matip in the summer, are they? So, you know, I do think that I do personally have the feeling that you know, as long as KABAK carries on playing like he has done the last few weeks, and, you know, he'll get a permanent transfer to Liverpool. And I think Konate is very much on the cards too, based on today's news. So, yeah, it's looking good at the minute. And you know, the fact that it's being spoken about early doors. It might all be done ready for the transfer window opening, in the summer.